Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. The Big Chill is a 1983 comedy drama film that was directed by Lawrence Kasdan. It stars Tom Berenger, Glenn Close, Jeff Goldblum, William Hurt, Kevin Kline, Mary Kay Place, Meg Tilly, and JoBeth Williams. The soundtrack for the movie features soul, rhythm and blues, pop rock music from the 1960s and 70s, and is absolutely fantastic. This drives the entire film. You hear Creedence Clearwater Revival, Aretha Franklin, Marvin Gaye, The Temptations, The Rolling Stones, and Three Dog Night. The film was later adapted for television as a short-lived series called Hometown. Later, it influenced the TV series 30-something. The storyline goes that a group of friends who attended the University of Michigan together in the 1960s convened for the funeral of one of their group named Alex, who committed suicide. The group, now in their 30s, have largely kept in touch over the years, but several have drifted somewhat apart as their respective lives had changed. Their individual ideals have also changed from their socially conscious and radical days in college to where they mostly now live comfortably and successful lives. With Alex's much younger and socially naive girlfriend, Chloe, added to this mix, the friends spend the weekend together at married couple Harold and Sarah's vacation house in South Carolina. All this following the funeral of their friend. In the light of Alex's unexplained suicide, the friends discuss their lives and collective relationships that they had with each other, then, now, and what the future holds for all of them. Before actual shooting was set to begin, the director Kasdan wanted the cast to spend some significant time together rehearsing as they traveled from California to Atlanta and ultimately to Beaufort, South Carolina. The actors had nearly 3 weeks of rehearsal time before the cameras started to roll, something that's extremely rare for a movie. JoBeth Williams believed that this was partly due to the studio not wanting to spend much time and money on the actual shooting process. But a more important idea was that the director wanted to give the cast and crew a chance to work out how they would play their scenes together and get to know each other well enough to achieve the effortless camaraderie that comes with close, long-time friendships that are depicted in the story. This strategy was one that all the actors found extremely helpful in making their characters' relationships completely believable. They felt that it created a very team-like atmosphere. The director anticipated using music as a big element in the film, and he instructed the actors to deliver their lines in voices much louder than normal. This was done so that when the songs were added in post-production, the lines could be heard clearly above the music and everything would sound natural. Actress Mary Kay Place said that what she thought about the film was that when you're in college, you think that you can do anything, be anything, or accomplish whatever you want. Then suddenly you reach a point where you're settled into what you're going to be, and once you realize it, everything stops. Then the big questions begin. The characters are all based on people that Lawrence Kasdan lived with and was familiar with in Ann Arbor, Michigan, while he was attending the University of Michigan. He lived in co-ed housing where the residents would share household duties like cooking. This explains why the characters are so comfortable sharing the house together and cooking together, and that's why they're so attached to the Michigan football game. The director states that The Big Chill is about a cooling down process that takes place for every generation when they move from the outward-directed, more idealistic concerns of their youth to a kind of self-absorbed self-interest which places their personal desires above those of the society or even an ideal. It refers to the cold world of adult reality after leaving the warm embrace of true friendships during college. Drawing on their own theatrical experiences, many of the actors compared the atmosphere on the set during rehearsal and during filming to that of doing a workshop, allowing them to be very comfortable and creative, and also to take risks that they might normally not take in filmmaking. They all cited one example of that atmosphere, which was a marathon improvisation prior to the start of the production, during which each of them stayed in character for over 5 hours, merging their identities with that of the characters in the film. This was the second of 4 movies that William Hurt and writer-director Lawrence Kasdan made together. The others were Body Heat from 1981, The Accidental Tourist from 1988, and I Love You to Death from 1990. Hurt has often stated that his relationship with the director Kasdan was the best and most rewarding of his entire career. When shooting was complete, the film then moved into the post-production phase, where editor Carol Littleton was faced with some strong challenges. She had previously edited Body Heat and E.T. from 1982, but she found this to be a completely different film, and one that was really hard to edit. Not only did the vast majority of the action take place in one location, but the focus was on characters and dialogue rather than the traditional story action. It was all about nuances and tone, where you had to constantly weigh everything for dramatic value. You were often looking for those small moments, those little remarks that made the story stand out. Kasdan has often talked about how important the movie's music was. He states that the 1960s were an incredibly varied explosion of pop music. For a lot of people in that generation, rock and roll hasn't since equaled that period in terms of richness and emotional impact. The songs really spoke to everybody and spoke to all the concerns that people had. In the movie, it's not just a background to these people that are in the film. These songs mean something very real and different to each of the characters. It's a strong reference for them, a sense of memory of that time. The very first thing they shot was a key flashback scene that they filmed in Atlanta, that the director always had in his mind that he intended to show at the end of the film. It was a scene that showed all the friends, including the deceased Alex, back during their college days, making Thanksgiving dinner together. It was intended to depict how all of the friends were back then, and finally show Alex as a contrast to everyone's differing memories of him. But none of that ever happened. Alex was played by Kevin Costner. Everything was filmed for those scenes, but they cut everything that had Kevin Costner's face completely out of it. The only scenes that you will see Kevin Costner in are when his body is being dressed for the funeral at the beginning of the film. You never see his face, though. Fans have always wanted for the director to release a cut that had these scenes in there prior to the suicide, but the director is not going to do it. He completely has refused to do any sort of director's cut, saying that the final version of the film has stood since 1983, and he's not going to change it now. This is a great movie that's very easy to watch strictly because of the music. You find yourself constantly waiting for the next great song to pop up. Take a look at this classic from the early 80s. I think you'll love it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.